Hi everybody! Welcome to another week of Makers Monday. I am Anastasia Redloff, aka Stampin' Blondie, and I'm really excited to be here with you today for another week of live step-by-step crafting. Now, I hope you all had an amazing weekend. It was so beautiful outside here in Tucson. Yesterday was 79 degrees. I was able to walk around with my flip-flops on and a t-shirt. But of course, today's back into the lower 60s, so I've got my sweater on and just enjoying a little bit of spring yesterday for a beautiful weekend. Now let me just make sure that I'm live here on Facebook. If you're watching, make sure to comment, say hi, let me know where you're joining me from. It's always fun to see where everybody is joining each week. If you're watching this via YouTube, I'm live on YouTube as well. Make sure to say hi over there on YouTube. Let me just make sure that I am good here. Looks like I am. If you're watching on replay, make sure to comment replay and just let me know that you were able to join this week. Now today I have 3 projects featuring the Fragrant Flowers bundle. This is from our January to April mini catalog, and it's really fun because it coordinates with some celebration paper. If you aren't too familiar with what Celebration is, it's Stampin' Up's biggest promotion, and for every qualifying order, you get to choose a free item out of our Celebration brochure. And so you can choose this designer series paper as your free item, which coordinates with our projects here today. Hello, Elf Ethel. Thank you for joining me all the way from New Jersey. I hope you are having a great day. Now, I am really excited, like I mentioned today for these projects. I normally do not like to create floral projects. I like to kind of go into the brighter, bolder project types, but every once in a while, I like to create some floral projects for you guys. And it's really fun to step out of your comfort zone. Now, let's go ahead and swap the camera. I've got a couple things to go over. Oh, before I swap the camera, don't forget that during Celebration, if your wish list is over $99, you can choose $175 worth of product for $99, your choice. Now, if you want, we also have the exclusive Boho Blue Mini Stampin' Cut and Emboss machine. You can get this for $129. You get the machine and $175 worth of product. So isn't this little guy so cute? I just love this. We're actually going to be using this on some of our projects here today. So $129 for $175 worth of free product, your choice. So you can choose dies, embossing folders, paper, markers, whatever you prefer. And you get to be a part of the Stampin' Blondie team. Now, what does that mean? There is no pressure to teach classes, host events, sell any products, or actually buy anything else. This is the best deal in our catalog right now. So if your wish list is large and you want to get a great discount on products, this is the opportunity you do not want to miss. You can choose the Boho Blue mini machine, you can choose the white Stampin' Cut Emboss mini machine, or if you already have one, you can choose $175 of product for $99. So let's see. Now we can go ahead and swap the camera and we will work on our other announcements. So the first thing I wanted to announce, I posted this on my page here last night. It may have been late for some of you. The Easter Bunny Punch is currently on the low inventory list. So if you have wanted the Easter Bunny Punch from the January to April mini catalog, I highly suggest you put in your order ASAP. Now, if you haven't been following along lately, the Shamrock Punch from this catalog is sold out and will not be replenished. So I have a feeling the Easter Bunny Punch may be in that same kind of category. So I placed my order for mine last night because I wanted to make sure that I got one. But if you are wanting the Easter Bunny Punch or the entire bundle, now is the time to place your order because that is on low inventory. Because this is in low inventory, I will have to switch up some of my classes. I think I had this planned for March's Club Craft and Create. Don't quote me on that just because I don't have my calendar of events in front of me, but I will have to kind of shift some class schedule around to choose a different product for Club Craft and Create. So Easter Bunny Punch, low inventory. If that is on your list, I highly suggest placing an order as soon as possible to get that. All right, next up is Prize Patrol. So if you are new here, each week I do something called Prize Patrol. All you have to do is share this video, comment that you shared, and you'll be entered into Prize Patrol. Make sure that you comment because sometimes your Facebook security settings don't always let me know who has shared. Last week, we had the heart treat boxes. Perfect for Valentine's Day. These little boxes are already pre-scored and they have adhesive on them with some fun little gold sentiment pieces that you can add on here. The winner for Prize Patrol last week was Rena Porter. So congratulations, Rena. I'll be putting this in the mail for you tomorrow so you have it just in time to create for Valentine's Day next week. This week's Prize Patrol is the Calming Camellia stamp set. Now this is I wouldn't call this a distinctive stamp set, but it does have that kind of feeling of distinctiveness to it. This is a traditional cling mount red rubber stamp set, and I love it because it has images and sentiments. If you know, if you follow me, you know I love images and sentiment stamp sets together. So this is our Prize Patrol for this week. All you have to do is share this video, comment that you shared, and you're entered. And that's it. That's it. All right. I have 2 classes that I currently have open right now for registration. I'm going to do this one first because the second one kind of coordinates with what we're working on today. My February card class to go. Now, if you followed me, you knew last year I was partnering with Lisa Hardy from Sweet Paper Studios. She is a Canadian demonstrator, and we brought you monthly card classes to go each month. Now, towards the end of the year, we had to stop, but we are now back to creating together, and our first class back is the February card class to go, featuring the Brushed Bouquet bundle. Now this bundle here is the stamp set. There are dies to go along with this. The Brushed Bouquet bundle we're coordinating with the Something Fancy stamp set, and you'll be creating 8 projects, 4 different designs. Man, I can't talk today. 4 different designs, 2 of each of those cards. You get a full package of the pastel adhesive backed sequins and a full roll of the linen thread, as well as a package of the Country Gingham Designer Series paper. Now here are 2 of the projects that I created for this class. Very simple and fun. If you don't purchase the stamp set, you can add that on to your registration if you'd like. If you don't, you can easily swap out for whatever sentiments you may have in your craft supply or flower images. But this is a really fun stamp set. I'm excited to be back working with her. We had such a great partnership. Now the difference between February card class to go and, let me grab it here, Club Craft and Create. So I've had some questions about what is the difference between class to go and Club Craft and Create. Now, class to go, your designer series paper is not cut, so you can choose whichever designer series paper you want for your project. Card class to go does not have an in-person or a Zoom class. That is a PDF only class. But of course, if you have questions about putting the projects together, you can always ask us. We're very approachable. So that is February card class to go. So that is a no cut designer series paper and a PDF only. If you're looking for more of a in-depth class, Club Craft and Create is for you. This features the Fragrant Flowers bundle, which I'm going to be featuring here today for Makers Monday. Now, Club Craft and Create includes an in-person event here in Tucson or a live virtual class via Zoom. Now, if you can't make the virtual class via Zoom, it's recorded, so everybody gets the recording as well. But February card class to go, I forgot to mention, deadline for this is February 15th. So you have a week and a day to sign up for that. February Club Craft and Create. This features the Fragrant Flowers. Again, you make 8 projects, 4 different designs, 2 each of the designs. And this class, your designer series paper is cut, so you'll be making the exact same projects that I have here, in person or the Zoom event. You'll get a full package of the, these are the matte black dots, and a full roll of the silver metallic edged ribbon. Again, you can add on the stamp set and the dies if you'd like. This is registration deadline is coming Wednesday. So if you're interested in Club Craft and Create, the registration for this is this coming Wednesday. And I'm going to take these out because this is what we're going to use for our Makers Monday projects today. All right, so if you have questions about what the difference between Card Class to Go, Club Craft and Create is, you can always type them in the comment section below and I will answer them. Club Craft and Create is subscription, Card Class to Go is not. So just kind of a explanation of the 2 different classes. I had some questions about what the difference is, but that is what that is. All right, Makers Monday. We have 3 projects today featuring the Fragrant Flowers bundle. So here is the stamp set. This is a cling mount stamp set, traditional red rubber. This is found in our January to April mini catalog, but we're also coordinating it today with the Favored Flowers Designer Series paper. Now, this is found in our Celebration brochure. Now, today, as a reminder, I always do this each week. If you are wanting our make and take projects from this week, you can place an order $35 and I will send you the make and takes for this week. So you have to use the host code that's below. But if you place an order of $50 or more, I'll send you a package of the classic matte dots. Now you can see I love these dots, so most of them are gone. But then you also get to choose a celebration item. So you can choose a full package of this paper as your celebration item. So just a way to coordinate your supplies. Now here are the cards that we'll be creating today. Very easy make and take projects that highlight our designer series paper as well as that Fragrant Flowers stamp set, and actually the dies as well. So we'll be using both. Now this card, we're going to be doing a fun chalkboard technique. So we'll make sure to do that one as well. Now, don't forget, each week on my website, stampandblondie.com, post at 6 a.m. every Monday morning, I have my project PDF tutorial. It has all of the item names, numbers, prices of the products that I'm using on the 3 projects here today, as well as the dimensions at the bottom. Don't forget there is a backside as well. So you can print that out, follow along with Makers Monday here, and then if you get your class kit this week, you can use all 3 and combine them for some projects. All right, let's get started. So we are gonna work, our first card that I've got up here today is this project. Now this is an easel card, so just sits like this. And in the class kit this week, you have a piece of basic white cardstock, 4 1/4 by 11. All the dimensions are on that PDF tutorial, so you don't have to write anything down. So we're going to score our cardstock's already scored. So we're going to use our bone folder here to crisp up our lines. And get that out. There we go. Hi, Diana. Hi, Pam. Oh, Pam got her happy mail today from me. I'm so happy that you love it. All right, we're going to use our multi-purpose liquid glue. Now, I forgot to test this before I went live, so let me just, perfect. Good, there we go. All right, we're gonna add a piece of Blackberry Bliss cardstock to our card base. So I'm gonna add that right in the middle. Now I like to use multi-purpose liquid glue for these kind of things because if it's not exactly where I want it the first time, I have a few seconds to kind of shift my paper around and get it right where I want it. Now this is a piece of that Fragrant Flowers designer series paper. Here is the back side. These colors in here are Fresh Freesia, Blackberry Bliss, Petal Pink, and Calypso Coral, as well as some greens and black as well. But we're gonna use the Fresh Freesia side of our paper, and we're gonna add that right in the middle of our Blackberry Bliss here. Now this is that designer series paper as well. The best part about this is that these dies also cut out pieces from the designer series paper. Now, while I like fussy cutting, I like it actually. I like fussy cutting. Sometimes it's nice to have a die to be able to cut it out, and then it makes it much easier. So the dies fit right over top our designer series paper here. Now I'm just gonna pull this. I may go off screen a little bit. I just wanna make sure it's completely lined up, and then I'll bring it back into view here. But what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna add some pieces of washi tape just to make sure that my die lays down when I run it through the embossing machine. Now these dies do fit in the mini Stamp and Cut and Emboss machine. So if you take advantage of the starter kit promotion and you get the boho blue mini machine, this can be one of the items you get in your starter kit. So we're gonna bring that in here. Now with the machine, I have found if you have the mini machine and you may be having some difficulties running it through, getting it to catch or cut, I have found that plate 3. So this plate actually says it's for embossing folders, but for my machine, each machine has different tension. My machine works best when I use the gray plate on the bottom. So I'm gonna add my die to run right through my machine here. It will make crunching and cracking noises. That is just cutting the paper. All right, close this up. You can see my plates are pretty well loved, so you can see how much I like my mini machine. It's nice to take on the go. I don't have to bring the whole big one, but for our last project today, unfortunately, we will have to use the big machine as the embossing folder doesn't fit through the mini machine that we're gonna use. Kathy asked, do I know when the Queen Bee set will be available? I will have to look at the inventory status report. I'm not sure off the top of my head, but I can look to see when that will be available for you, Kathy. I don't have access to that right now, but I can check and I can let you know. All right, so right from our designer series paper, die cut here. I didn't have to cut any of this, and look how beautiful this flower is. So my husband is away for work right now, and I showed him pictures of my projects last night, and he said this flower looks almost 3D. So I thought that was really cool, and I didn't even have to color it in or do anything like that. Now while I had my machine out, let me add this on here first, and then I'll do the stamping. So on the back of this, we're gonna add Stampin' Dimensionals. Let's see, let's cut some of our dimensional pieces. Don't forget, around your dimensionals, there's all these little pieces that you can still use for your projects. So there we go, here. And we're gonna add, this is a bigger die cut piece, just so I'm gonna use a little bit more dimensionals than I kind of normally would. Right. Little pieces go in the garbage can, and then we're gonna add this right to the top here of our card. Now our stamp set comes with, again, Images and Sentiments, stamps I love. I was really drawn to this stamp set because the font on the thanks and the hello. I liked how classic it looked. It wasn't too frilly and hard to read, and you can really mix and match it with the friend and the love. So we're gonna stamp thanks using our, this is gonna be Blackberry Bliss ink. And I just re-inked my Blackberry Bliss, so it should be nice and juicy for our stamping. Blackberry Bliss isn't a color I tend to work with too much. It is because it's dark and I like to do bright and colorful projects, but because I have a smaller piece of cardstock, I'm gonna die cut this first just to make sure that it'll fit on here. Pam says, I'm trying to do a total makeover of my stamp room, purging and giving lots of stuff away. Ooh, Pam, you'll have to share after photos when you're all done. I completely redid my craft room in February of 2020, and I love the way it is now. I've got everything where I need it to be. It's easy to find. I got rid of so much stuff. Oh, Pam says the Queen Bee dies will be available March 13th. Thank you, Pam. Very helpful. Okay, so we die cut our thing here. And I just die cut that because I'm using a scrap piece of fresh freesia and I had to do it sideways. So I wanted to die cut it first and then stamp. Normally I stamp and then die cut. All right, there we go. So we've got inked up already, and I'm just gonna, I might go off camera here, sorry. Just gonna stamp my thanks just to make sure that it is right in the center where I need it to be. And there is our sentiment. Even with my juicy ink pad, I don't know, maybe I missed the middle of my ink pad there. All right, we're gonna add that to our card just with some multi-purpose liquid glue. And this is gonna go, we're gonna offset our sentiment. And then I should put it on straight if I'm gonna create for you guys. That would help. All right, so we're gonna use the classic matte dots. Now these come in 4 different colors. You have basic white, very vanilla, basic gray, and basic black. Now I was quickly running out of white dots, but I have all these vanilla ones left. So the logical thing to do was to take my Blackberry Bliss, dark Blackberry Bliss Stampin' Blends, and just take them and color the dots to be the color that I need, because I was running out of white and I needed dots to match my project. So I'm just taking my Stampin' Blends, the dark, and coloring them in to match my project here. Now with Stampin' Blends, these are alcohol-based ink markers, so you can layer and layer, get them darker and darker. But for me, just one single layer is perfect here. Now they're alcohol, so they dry very quickly, and then you can just add them right to your project. And that is our first card today, featuring the Fragrant Flowers Designer Series paper and the Fragrant Flowers bundle. So I hope you guys like this one. This flower, it looks like I colored it and I didn't even have to. So whoever gets this card will know that I don't have to, they didn't know that I didn't color that in. They don't know that that's paper. Like my husband said, he thought it was 3D, so it looks great. Yes, Courtney, the blends are bomb diggity. I love our Stampin' Blends. All right, our next project here features Petal Pink and just a little peek of that Designer Series paper, and we're gonna make this look like it's popping out from the paper. So we have our piece of Petal Pink cardstock for our card base, 5.5 by 8.5. Scored at 4 1/4. I'm throwing my mini plates around over here. So we've got that pre-scored already, and we're just going to use our bone folder to crisp up our line. There we go. And a piece of Petal Pink cardstock, 4 1/4 by 5. And we're just gonna use, or 4 1/4 by 5. Yeah, that's right, 4 1/4 by 5. Now we are gonna use Stampin' Blends markers again on this project, but we're gonna use them in a different way as well. So I'm gonna take a piece of just a scrap piece of grid paper that I have here. Obviously you can tell that's well loved. And on our single piece, we're just gonna take our dark petal pink Stampin' Blends on the brush side. And what we're gonna do is we're gonna just create a splatter pattern. Now you don't wanna get too heavy with the flicking of the marker because you don't wanna damage the nub too much. So just a light flick on the paper will give you a fun, it's kind of hard to see, but it's a splatter effect on the background. Now as this dries, it's gonna lighten up a lot more, so you can go back in and add more splatter depending on how dark you want, but I don't want it to really overtake the paper too much. So you can see, hopefully you guys can see, there's a little bit of splatter just on the background right there. Oh, we're gonna need that for our stamp. Now we're gonna take our petal pink, or sorry, Calypso Coral. Did I do coral or petal pink? Petal pink. The sentiment is Calypso Coral. So we've got petal pink ink, petal pink paper, tone on tone. I love to do tone on tone. And we're gonna take our big flower stamp from the set and we're gonna ink it up and do a stamp right off to the side here in the lower left corner. Wondering why Stampin' Up! Doesn't have Very Vanilla embossing powder or ink? You know, I am not sure. We used to have Very Vanilla ink. It was craft ink. Actually, I'm going to use Whisper White craft ink today, so I'll show you what the difference between that is. But I don't know why we don't have Very Vanilla. Maybe because the vanilla and the Whisper or Basic White was too close in color to each other when it actually was put together, like when you heat dried it. I barely used Very Vanilla craft ink, so, and it's been years, so I'm not even sure what it looks like anymore. All right, so I'm stamping the same flower on a piece of Whisper White, Basic White, it's Basic White now, Basic White cardstock. And what we're gonna do is I have a circle punch. Now I kept all of my circle punches. You could use the layering circles dies for this. But what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna find a section of the stamp that I want to highlight. So it's right here where these two come together. Excuse me, too much talking. Good thing I got my water today. And we're gonna take our circle punch and just kind of find a good spot here and punch it out. Layering dies, circle dies will work just as well, but punches are much quicker. All right, so, excuse me. So we have our punched out flower here, and what I'm gonna do is line up the lines. So this is a really easy technique to be able to make it look like it's kind of popping from the photo. And so you can, the best way to do this is I like to find the lines in the leaves, and then you can see how the rest of it just kind of lines up with each other. But before we put that down, we have a piece of our designer series paper. Here's the back side of it. Now we are gonna cut one end, add a flag, and I found that if you do a little snippet in the middle and then go corner to corner, you get a really nice kind of pointed flag shape, and then your angles are even on both sides. And we're gonna add this to our card here, right across there. So I still want to be able to line up, like I said, those, like the veins in the leaves, I want to be able to line those up, so I don't want to cover that part. And now we're just going to add our circle with some dimensionals. So this will really make it look like it's popping up from the project, because it really is, but it really just kind of focuses on that white circle in the flower here. All right, let's make sure our lines are all set, and there we go. So it's just like you stamped the whole thing in one continuous section, but it just really stands out on that circle there. And we can add this to our card base. Now I added that splatter just to kind of give it a little something in that upper right area. It was a little plain when I made this card, but I decided the splatter doesn't take away from the rest of the project. It just kind of adds a little bit of something up there where it brings it all together with the petal pink. Now our sentiment is going to be Calypso Coral, and that is going to be the word friend, and it's going to go in the lower left corner of our project here. There we go. And I'm going to use that baker's twine. I love baker's twine. It goes with everything. Now, where did I put it? I know it was in the basket from this class. Let's see, is it still in there? Yes, it is. So we have about 8 inches of twine. I like to use a little bit more than probably needed, just to make sure I have a good grip on my ribbon here. Oh, my Leia is in here talking to me because it is her dinner time, and if I don't feed her on the dot, she knows. All right, I'm just taking the ribbon and kind of pulling it between my nail and my finger, and that helps straighten it out a little bit. And once you get towards the end of a roll of twine, it gets really, really curly. So I found that if you just kind of pull it through your fingernail and your finger, oh, that was a really bad tie. Your fingernail and your finger, then it'll help straighten it out just a little bit. All right, let's try this one more time. See, even the pros have problems tying bows sometimes. All right, and pull. There we go. And you can hold the middle and pull both of the tails at the same time. Pull it tight and cut all 4 strings at the same time. I'm going to adhere this with glue dots. Now I choose glue dots for this because it is quick, easy. I don't have to wait for anything to dry, and there's no mess or worry about ooze coming out from behind the ribbon if I were to use liquid glue. So just a glue dot in the lower left corner with that baker's twine, and here's my classic dots. Now I am going to use the white ones, my 3 last little white ones on this project, and we're going to add that. Oh, I have 3 big white ones left. Okay, we're going to switch it from little white to big white. Use the spatula end on this. Hi Peggy, I hope you're having a good night tonight and that your Monday was good. Okay, and then our last one right there, and that is our second project today, featuring the Fragrant Flowers bundle and the Favored Flowers designer series paper. So quick and easy, simple project, great for beginner stampers. All you have to do is stamp once. This splatter technique is very simple and fun to be able to create. All right, so that is our second project today. I hope you guys like that one too. All right, our last one, and we are gonna do this fun chalkboard technique on this one. So for this project, I have a piece of basic black cardstock, 5.5 by 8.5, scored at 4 1/4. And I've got some pieces, some tiny pieces for our sentiment that I'm going to move off to the side so I don't lose these. And another piece of basic white cardstock. This is 4 1/4 by 5 as well. Now we're gonna take our card base and just put that off to the side because we're gonna emboss this piece of basic black cardstock with the Pretty Flowers embossing folder. So here is what you can see the design through here. Now this is from our annual catalog, I think. And this embossing folder is the first time I've used it, and it is gorgeous. So we're gonna run this through. Now this unfortunately does not fit in the mini Stamp and Cut and Emboss machine, so we're gonna have to use the big one. But at the bottom of our folders, there's this black line, so I'm gonna line up my cardstock with that so that I know it's straight going through the machine. Our big Stamp and Cut and Emboss machine. And let me get the plates for this. So for this one, because this is not a 3D embossing folder, this is a regular embossing folder. On your plate, it has the guide to use base 1. They're numbered here. So we're gonna use base 1, plate number 3. They're numbered as well. Our embossing folder. Now when you use embossing folders, hinge goes in first. So hinge first, and then plate number 3 on top. And we're just gonna run it through our machine, and you get a really good arm workout when you have to prep a big class when you use this. All right, let's get this big machine out of the way and our embossing folder and get our plates out of the way. All right, so here is what this looks like embossed. Very pretty, and even by itself it stands out. But when we're gonna do the chalkboard technique, I didn't want to just do black on black. You can see it doesn't really make the embossing stand out as much. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna bring in our grid paper, and we're gonna use white craft ink. Now this is an older version of the stamp pad. This is what it comes like now. So you have a white craft pad and it's uninked. So you get a refill and a white craft pad. Now craft ink is different than our normal ink. Craft ink is much thicker, it is more tacky, and it takes a little longer to dry. So when I use craft ink, I don't like to use a lot of it because it takes a while to dry. Now I have a dedicated blending brush for white. It looks a little purple, it's white. But I like to keep a blending brush just for white so that I don't get this mixed in with any of my other ink pads. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna take our blending brush and just lightly dab it in the ink and swirl it off our paper first. And then we're gonna come and swirl our blending brush over our embossed piece of paper. So just lightly tap off the paper and swirl on. So what this is gonna do is this is gonna pick up the ink where it is embossed. So all those raised areas are now gonna turn a light white color. Now you definitely wanna make sure that you tap your blending brush off the paper first, because this craft ink and the blending brush do tend to pick up quite a bit of ink even with a light hand. So just lightly dab. I'm not swirling, I'm not pushing, I'm just lightly tapping it onto the ink pad off the side and then swirl right on, because I don't want my ink to be very dark. Just want it to give that kind of chalkboard look. So tap, swirl off the paper, and then swirl onto your cardstock. So those raised images are really going to take on that white ink. So tap and swirl. And I like to kind of move in quadrants around my paper here. And there you go. So the lighter hand you have on it, you can see it just gives it. Now I accidentally got a lot right there on the corner, so I'm going to try to swirl that out. But the rest of it just kind of takes on that chalkboard look. So that is how a way you can use white craft ink. It is not listed on the page with our other inks in the catalog. It is on a separate page with our Tuxedo Black Memento ink, our StazOn ink, and it is on that page. So you get an uninked stamp pad and a bottle of white craft ink. My suggestion is when you get it, because this is prior, you can see it's an older design. When I got mine was entirely inked. But when you get yours, my suggestion is take that little bottle of re-inker and just do like a corner of the ink pad. Don't do the whole thing, just do a little bit. And then that'll be perfect for if you're stamping or if you are doing this technique. All right. When I use embossed paper, I like to use my multi-purpose liquid glue. It really gets into the crevices of my paper. And then when I have it on here, you can really see the difference in the color of, here's the back side of the card. You can see the difference with that chalkboard technique. Now, if you go too heavy with the ink, it's gonna get on your hands because it is an ink that takes a little bit longer to dry. You can heat set it or you can just let it air dry. But because I just used a thin layer of it, it's dry. I don't have anything on my hands. We have a piece of basic white cardstock and a piece of our Fragrant Flowers designer series paper. We're going to adhere those two together. And that is such a fun technique, isn't it? It's just a fun, different way to add a little pop of something to your card, and it works with all embossing folders. It doesn't have to just be this one. All embossing folders will work for this. And we're gonna add that right to, this is gonna go in like the lower left side. Oh, here's the card so you guys can see it. The lower left corner there. Now our flower, we're actually gonna stamp that big image that we did before. We're gonna stamp this in Tuxedo Black Memento ink, and I'm just gonna, I don't have my stamp cleaner, so I'm just gonna use a baby wipe really quick to clean this off because it has Petal Pink ink on it, and I forgot to grab my Stampin' Scrub. So we're just gonna wipe that off really fast, and I'll put that off to the side to dry, and then we'll do our sentiment now. So our two pieces here, we're gonna use the sentiment that says hello and love. These can be combined, like you can do hello friend, thanks friend, love, like you can just mix and match. But we're gonna do hello and love, both in our Tuxedo Black ink. So hello and love. Our hello is gonna go on that smaller piece of basic white cardstock. Just making sure it's inked up really well, and stamp it right in the middle. Go. And then love, because these are such thin stamps, you just want to kind of tap on your ink pad very, very gently, and that'll pick up plenty of ink without getting that halo effect on your stamp. So there we go. And there is our love. All right, let's see, that is, let's make sure that's dry. Okay, I've got a piece of basic white, we'll put these off to the side. Basic white cardstock, and we're gonna stamp our big flower in Tuxedo Black as well. We're gonna color it in with Stampin' Blends. And some of you may be asking, when I use Stampin' Blends, which black ink do I use? Do I use Tuxedo Black? Do I use StazOn? Let me just make sure I'm in the middle here. StazOn, Tuxedo Black, which one do I use? And I always like the kind of reminder for myself, stinky versus non-stinky. Tuxedo Black Memento ink, not stinky. Stampin' Blends, alcohol-based markers, they do have kind of a scent to them. Now this is not a way for you to condone you huffing crafting supplies. It's just how I can remember to think of which black ink to use. StazOn ink has a very distinctive smell to it. I think it smells like almonds. But if you do watercoloring, so you use watercolor pencils, pencils don't have any ink to them. So very, very easy to be able to remember stinky versus non-stinky. Stampin' Blends, Memento ink. All right, we're gonna color this in with our Stampin' Blends. I'm using Old Olive on the vines here of the leaves. Now I am just quick coloring this in, but I can show you how easy it is to use Stampin' Blends. Now they come 2 in a pack and they're meant to be blended together, but it is very easy to just kind of use them to highlight different parts of your project. Now I'm using the brush end of these. They have a brush end and a like a bullet end, a writing end. So it's very easy to figure out when coloring which side works best for you. Because I'm coloring a bigger area, I like the brush end. It covers more and I feel like I can color just a little bit quicker with these. Right. Also with Stampin' Blends, there are 2 different ways you can use them. Now you saw I used the dark Old Olive first to highlight certain portions. And then I came in with the light Old Olive. Now you can use that way, or you can do the light first and then color in dark. It is just really your personal preference on how you want to color. All right, so our green is out of the way. Looks like your Memento pad also has the chalked of it. Oh no, did I get? No, I didn't get. I thought maybe I got white ink in my Memento pad. Whew, that scared me. I like to use my Memento pad. When are the Stampin' Write markers appropriate to use? Okay, so we have Stampin' Write markers, which are, I actually have one here. Actually, here are the Stampin' Write markers. These are Stampin' Write markers. These are Stampin' Blends. Stampin' Write markers, if you want to use those, you can use them for coloring in on your stamps. If you don't have a specific ink pad that you want to use on your stamp, or if you want to use multi-colors on your stamp for like a sentiment, you can use Stampin' Write markers. Stampin' Write markers have the same ink as our ink pads. So you can color directly onto your stamps to create the same effect as our ink pads. Stampin' Blends have alcohol ink, so I would not suggest coloring on your ink or your stamps with these. Because they're alcohol based, they can over time damage your stamps, so I don't recommend coloring on your stamps with Stampin' Blends. But Stampin' Write markers, you can color with those as well. Before we had Stampin' Blends, I used Stampin' Write markers all the time to color in images just like this. So it depends on your personal preference. If I'm coloring images like this, I like blends because they have a light and a dark, but you can use Stampin' Write for the same thing. They just won't have that highlight, shadow, contrast look to them. Won't the ink dry on the stamp? Yes, so if you're coloring, say I have, here's a Stampin' Write marker. I'm coloring on my stamp and I want to change colors. I'm coloring another one and then the ink has dried. Well, I can take my stamp, say I just colored this, and go like do that on the stamp and it'll re-moisten the ink and then you can stamp. So it's just a fun way to use Stampin' Write markers for different sentiments or whatever. All right, I colored in that first flower there. That was Blackberry Bliss. I did a light and a dark, and then I'm gonna come in with my dark petal pink and, oh, wrong side. Just do some quick highlights on this flower. Now the petal pink, these ones are, one is almost kind of the same color. So when you blend them together, you don't see too much of a difference, but it is fun to be able to still have a little bit of color on here. If you don't have blends, it's okay to use Stampin' Write markers. Yes, you can still use Stampin' Write markers. Like I said, you just won't get that contrast and shadow highlight like I just did with the dark here. But yes, you can still use Stampin' Write markers. They come in the same color as Stampin' Blends. They're just two different types of ink on the inside. Right, and then our last bit here, and there. All right, so we've colored in our flower. Now, when you use Stampin' Blends, you want to make sure your workspace is covered, because here's the back. If I were to use a Stampin' Write marker, there's the back. It doesn't bleed through. So definitely make sure to cover your workspace if you are using Stampin' Blends, because they can bleed out and use it on your workspace. So you definitely want to make sure it's covered, because the more you blend and blend, the more it's going to bleed through the back of your paper. So you just want to make sure all of your workspace is covered when working with Stampin' Blends. I hope I gave you guys a good quick rundown of the difference between Stampin' Blends and Stampin' Write markers. If there was a preference between the two, I would say Stampin' Blends, just because I have the ink pads, so I don't use my Stampin' Write markers very often. If I didn't have the ink pads, if I was a new stamper and I needed kind of a bunch of colors without buying all the ink pads, I would get the color families of Stampin' Write markers. That'll help you kind of start with all the different colors so that you can ink up stamps and then be able to create a variety of different colors, and then you can use the markers to color in those as well. All right, there's our floral image. Not as striking as the designer series paper, so I am not quite this artiste with Stampin' Blends, but still a fun way and a different way to use this big stamp here. We're gonna also add this one to the back with our Stampin' Dimensionals. Here we go. Here. Now, when I first started as a demonstrator, almost 13 years ago, I did not have all the ink pads, so I got the Stampin' Write markers, and then I used those as my inks for ink pads, or for stamps. I colored on them and then did the thing to be able to kind of re-moisten up the ink, and then I could stamp my project there as well. All right, hello, for our sentiment that we stamped, we're gonna add this down, and I kind of tucked it underneath a little bit and had it hang off the edge there. Now our love sentiment, we're gonna cut the edges at an angle just to kind of give it a different look here. Now when you do this, make sure your cuts are going the same way. I accidentally cut the same way one time. And this is gonna go on with a dimensional right below that hello. Now, as the final touch, we are gonna use, you would think I would use the black, but because we did that chalkboard technique and it kind of gives it that gray wash, we're gonna use these gray classic matte dots, and we're gonna add 2 down here, and then 1 up here. And that is our third project today. And this features the Fragrant Flowers bundle and the Favored Flowers Designer Series paper. So I hope you guys like this one. This, I have to say, this one's my favorite this week, and that is because that chalkboard technique in the back just really kind of makes it pop, and it makes that texture from the embossing folder stand out with a little bit of tone on tone there as well. All right, so let me know in the comments which one is your favorite today. We've got our first purple one here, our petal pink, and then our last one with the chalkboard technique here. I'll do that so you guys can see them a little bit better. So let me know which one is your favorite here today. I always love to see which everybody's favorite every week. All right. right, well, thank you once again for joining me for this week's Makers Monday. As a reminder, if you want the class project kits for this